Good evening, friends. I'm back to do a reading of Facebook Love for you today. Poems from Me to You, number 344. I was here 9 or 10 days ago, and before that, I think it was a good 3 months. But I feel something in the air today. I feel some collective angst, some conscious and unconscious anxiety and worry and a sense of inability to settle. And there's good reason for it. There really is. We are facing disruptions in our social safety net. We are facing a lot of upset over how many people in our government have been blithely fired, dismissed from good work that they've been doing. We are facing the mistaken idea that people are trying to eliminate waste. But the numbers don't add up. Where the waste is happening is not in people who are good at their jobs. I'm sure that there is some waste. For instance, something like 17 golf outings in the last 2 some months by a certain president that costs over $26 million. That might be wasteful. At any rate, I can't change everything, but I can feed my mindset. I can look for ways to feel useful and able. So I came across 2 things today that really fed my spirit. So that's what I would like to do, is share these 2 things. The first one is an actual poem, and the second one is a writing by a poet. So I'm going to start this evening with a poem by Alison Luterman called At Albany Bulb with Elaine. And I believe this is fresh. At Albany Bulb with Elaine. Side by side on a log by the bay. Sunlight. Unleashed dogs prancing through surf, almost exploding out of their skins with perfect happiness. Dogs who don't know about fired park rangers or canceled health insurance. Or canceled health research, or tariff wars, or the suicide hotline for veterans getting defunded, or. We've listed horror upon horror to each other for weeks now, and it does no good. So instead, I tell her how I held a 2-day-old baby in my arms, inhaling him like a fresh-baked loaf of bread, then watched as a sneeze erupted through his body like a tiny volcano. It was the look of pure astonishment on his face, as if he were Adam in the Garden of Eden, making his debut achoo, as if it were the first sneeze that ever blew that got me. She tells me how her dog once farted so loudly he startled himself and fell off the bed where he'd been lolling, and then the 2 of us start to laugh so hard we almost fall off our own log. And this is our resistance for today. Remembering original innocence. And they can't take it away from us, though they ban our very existence, though they slash our rights to ribbons. We will have our mirth and our birthright gladness long after every unsold Tesla has vaporized, and Earth has closed over even the names of these temporary tyrants. Somewhere, some women like us will be sitting side by side, facing the water, telling human stories, and laughing still. At Albany Pub by Elaine, with Elaine, by Alison Luterman. I just love that. I think I'll read it again before I fall asleep tonight. I've said before that my stance in the face of difficulty, especially when it's public difficulty, governmental, societal challenge, is radical joy. It is a stance that I choose. No one can take it. They can't take my education. They can't take my creativity. They can't take the way I love those that I love. They can't take away my ideals or my joy. This other piece is by David Whyte, and it is a selection from his book Consolations, which is a book that keeps coming across my consciousness in the last few weeks, which means instead of reading excerpts, I need to get my own copy. But this is what I read that he wrote today that really, really got me. I suppose it's kind of a poem, but it's not written that way. It's written like a narrative. This, by David Whyte, is called Joy. Joy is a meeting place of both deep intentionality and self-forgetting, the bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside, but is now neither, but become a living frontier, a voice speaking between us and the world. Dance, laughter, affection, skin touching skin, singing in the car, music in the street, the quiet, irreplaceable, and companionable presence of a daughter. The sheer intoxicating beauty of the world inhabited as an edge between what we previously thought was us and what we thought was other than us. Joy may be made by a practiced, hard-won achievement as much as by an unlooked-for, passing act of grace arriving out of nowhere. Joy is a measure of our relationship not only to life, but to death and our living with death. Joy is the act of giving ourselves away before we need to or are asked to. Joy is practiced generosity. If joy is a deep form of love, it is also the raw engagement with the passing seasonality of existence. The fleeting presence of those we love understood as gift, going in and out of our lives, faces, voices, memory, aromas of the first spring day, or a wood fire in winter, the last breath of a dying parent as they create a rare, raw, beautiful frontier between loving presence and a new and now blossoming absence. To feel a full and untrammeled joy is to have become fully generous. To allow ourselves to be joyful is to have walked through the doorway of fear, the dropping away of the anxious, worried self, felt like a thankful death itself, a disappearance, a giving away, overheard in the laughter of friendship, the vulnerability of happiness and the vulnerability of its imminent loss felt suddenly as a strength, a solace, and a source. The claiming of our place in the living conversation, the sheer privilege of being in the presence of the ocean, the sky, a young boy running from shadow to light, or a daughter's face framed by the mountains. I was here, and you were here, and together we made a world. Joy by David Whyte. He shared that on his own page today, and after it, he added a paragraph, which is exactly the message that I have been saying a version of to myself most of my adult life, because of all the things that happen that hurt, all the things that seem like they shouldn't be. And whenever that happens, I need perspective so that I can keep going, because I don't give up. So here's what David Whyte had to say in his own post today. There may be more than one reader asking what at present in the world's headlines gives us any reason for joy. The fact is that we as human beings have never had even the briefest period in history when we have not lived alongside grief and woe in all its forms, when we have not been ruled by undeserving, mendacious, bullying adolescents undeserving of power, as America is now. No. Human beings have always had to claim their joy and happiness amidst the heartbreak of existence. Joy is a form of freedom that is the only real foundation of generosity to others and creating the conditions for that happiness, the true ground of any real political participation. He signed that, DW. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for his generosity. I'm grateful for the well of joy that I'm able to find inside myself. I'm grateful for the people who've shared their stories with me, who helped me have not just sympathy or compassion, but real empathy, the ability to put myself in the shoes of those who have struggled longer and more. And this week, as we prepare for the marches are this Saturday, the 5th of April, in DC and all over the country, are going to be a source of joy and good spirit and camaraderie. So if you need to fill yourself up, join us and listen to more poetry from me or from anybody who makes these kinds of offerings, because I'm certainly not the only one. These are poems from Me to You, number 344, and I will see you